Hello! I wanted to tell you a story about how I lost my passport in Japan. So I was in Tokyo. It was the morning of my flight departure, packing up my bags, getting ready to go, making sure I had everything. When I checked my personal carry bag that I keep my passport in at all times, and I noticed it wasn't in there. So I dug around through my bags, I looked around my room, and I started to think, it's missing. The first step if you lose your passport, at least in Japan, is don't panic. So I didn't panic. I was very calm and collected. Now a little bit about how I store my passport. I have this little passport holder. It comes with a thing to wear around your neck. I don't wear it around my neck in Japan because Japan's very safe. There's very little risk of you being pickpocketed, so I didn't feel the need to carry it. But inside, I keep my passport. I keep this entire baggie here inside my personal backpack in a very secure zipper. Now I've been told by various sources that carrying your passport is required by Japanese law as a foreigner, and you can face up to about $100 or $200 worth of fines. I've heard some horror stories of possibly being detained if you don't have your passport on you. I've had trouble finding the exact written Japanese law about foreigners having to carry around their passports. But due to stories I've heard and having been told from reputable sources, I do recommend that you keep your passport on you at all times in a very secure location. Long-term residents and permanent residents of Japan, even if you're a foreigner, can be issued a long-term residency card. That's something much smaller, I imagine, similar to like a driver's license that you can carry around, so you don't have to worry about carrying your passport around you everywhere if you actually live in Japan. But with that in mind, and kind of the horror stories running through my head about possibly being detained, I wasn't sure what my next step was. It was about 8 a.m., and the shops that I had visited the day before didn't open until 10. So I double-checked, and I triple-checked all of my bags to make sure that I hadn't misplaced it within my luggage. It was about 10 o'clock, and luckily I was staying at a friend's house, so I was able to use their phone and call up some shops and ask them if a passport had been turned in. Passport o nakushimashita, which means I lost my passport. All of the clerks at the different shops that I had visited put me on hold, checked, I'm assuming with their lost and found or their manager, and none of the three places found it. Next, I called the United States Embassy. Here's where it gets very helpful. I'll put the information in the description below, and if you're from a different country, please check and see if your country has an embassy within Japan. So I phoned the embassy, I followed the prompts. When I got to the passport information, I was able to push a button that said I lost my passport. And the embassy gave me this recommendation. If you're in Japan for several more days, just wait it out. There's a strong chance that your passport will be returned to you, whether it's turned into the police or returned to a store that you may have visited. Then they said, please contact the local police to check and see if they have received your lost passport. The next step they said was, if you're leaving soon, please visit the embassy immediately so they can issue an emergency passport. And I believe the fee was about $140. It was also stressed to me that you cannot carry large luggage into the embassy. Find a coin locker nearby at a station and store your luggage because they won't let you into the embassy if you've got a huge backpack or a big roller bag. Keep an alternate form of ID in a separate location from your passport because both the embassy and the police stated you need some sort of identification to prove that you're a US citizen. I would also recommend taking a digital scan of your passport and storing that in the cloud somewhere so that you can access it as an emergency. Now, I've mentioned before, and those of you who are interested in Japanese culture and the country may already know, Japan is a very safe country. There's low crime rates, there's low theft, and especially when it comes to something like a passport, there's very little chance of something like that being stolen from you. The most likely scenario is that it will be returned to the nearest shop that it was found by, or to the police. Lucky for me, since I was staying with a friend, they were able to call some of the local police stations. The police said that no passport had been turned in. So as time was running out, I knew that I had to pack my bags and make my way to the embassy. Now I'll post a map here of where the embassy is located. It's really not too far from Tokyo Station. If you ride to Tokyo Station, you can walk there in about 15 or 20 minutes. So I left my friend's house and I started walking towards the station. 5 minutes in and I get a message. Brandon, your passport was found. I was given the location of the police station that it was returned to. And I was also given a lost and found number. Now the station that I visited wasn't like one of those small Koban corner street stations. It was a big police station. There was cars and bikes up front, and plenty of people waiting in line to be helped. As I entered, there was a door greeter who didn't speak any English at all. Unfortunately, I didn't communicate very well. So in Japanese, I said, "Passport o nakushimashita." He basically was getting back to me saying, "Oh, you lost your passport. Would you like to file a report?" And then I said, "Chikaimasu, passport o mitsuketa," which means I found my passport. And then you could see the visible confusion on his face. And so in English, I said, "Somebody turned in my passport here." And then he understood. If they don't understand English, just keep it simple. He pointed me towards the counter, kaike, and that's a place where people can pay bills or fines, or in this location was the lost and found. I presented my identification, I told them I lost my passport, and then I gave them the lost and found number. It was very easy, very simple. He went behind the counter, around the corner, came back with my passport holder and all of the contents removed from it and kept separate. There was a few thousand yen and several random coins in that bag. And it was very interesting because there was a printout that in Japanese said, "Small bag, passport, X amount of yen down to the single digit yen." And he asked, "Is everything there that you lost?" I said, "Yes, everything's there." He asked me if he could take a scan of my passport. He finished filling out the report. I signed some paperwork, I received my stuff, and I was on my way out. I got all my stuff in time, got to the airport with plenty of time to spare, and made my way home without any issues. So to summarize, if you lose your passport in Japan, don't panic. There's a very good chance that it will be returned. If you have time, then wait it out. Get in contact with stores or local police stations and let them know you lost it so they can get back to you. Double check your luggage. Now, even though my passport was lost, there's a chance that if you can't find it, it might just be in a different bag. So double check all your luggage. If you cannot find it and you need to leave the country soon, get to the embassy. You can call them in advance, but they're not going to make any reservations. Keep your passport with you in a very secure location. You can get something like this, or they make passport wallets. Keep an alternate ID in a separate location as well. Now, I don't know what would have happened if I had no ID. And the most important tip is don't lose your passport. It was an interesting experience for me, a good learning experience, and I can pass along my information to you, and hopefully you don't have to go through that. And more importantly, hopefully if you do go through it, you get it back and you don't have to get to the embassy. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some of this information helpful. I hope you don't lose your passport anywhere. See you next time.